What's going on, guys? It's Pokemon Masters Council. We're back with another how to use guide, and I got my boy Justin with me. Justin, say hello.
Hey, Gym Leader Justin here to talk about the brand spell. Wait a minute, he's not brand new anymore.
No.
Oh man, how time flies. They grow up so fast. We're talking about Dragapult.
Yes, we are talking about Dragapult. So, guys, before we get into it, we just want to say thank you so much for all of the subscribers, all the likes, all the comments. We love reading through those and responding. It's awesome to see you guys as a community, like, reaching out to us, talking to each other, helping each other out. Like, that's what we did. That's what we built this channel for. Thank you very much. If you guys enjoy this guide or any of the content we've put out, please hit the like button, hit that big red subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, and hit the bell so you're notified every time we drop a how to use guide. Justin, thoughts on Dragapult?
So, Dragapult's an interesting character. He's a fan favorite coming out of Gen 8. He was a huge factor in Gen 8 metagame, whether it was 3-3 or VGC. He played a big role in both metas. I think he featured pretty heavily at Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a good reason. Dragapult did really good in a lot of different ways in the Dynamax meta. What do you think about Dragapult now coming into this new gimmick for Gen 9, obviously? No more Dynamax. We now have the terraforms, the terrestrialization.
So my thoughts on Dragapult here, well, when it comes to 3v3 and when it comes to like OU or any sort of singles format, yeah, he's still great. He's honestly still really powerful. He's really high on the usage, and terrestrialization has given him a niche. There's just more flexibility, like, go figure, for a Pokemon who has been one of the most flexible Pokemon in all of Gen 8. Now in singles formats, he's back in Gen 9. He's still really strong. He's still flexible. You never know what he's going to do, and now you never know what he's going to terrestrialize into.
He's still a premier spotlight in the meta in terms of, like, speed tiers. 142 base speed is the place to be. So when you're calcing things, that's what we used to calc against. You know what I mean? That, back before Zacian and Gen 8, before those metas were unlocked, this was the guy that we'd calc against. And that's sort of how it is now. If and when you see him, he will be that premier speed tier. He's going to outspeed anything that's not priority, basically, is kind of how it works. 142 is insane. Then we are working with 100 base attack, special attack, and 120 physical attack. So pretty respectable offensive power, but he's kind of squishy. But we are a pretty unique type here in Ghost Dragon. Really interesting. Actually a pretty decent, like a B tier kind of defensive typing in terms of, a pairing with Dragon. But we are working with some pretty fine abilities, aren't we, Zero?
We are. So we have, well, first and foremost, all three of them are great, and they all have their uses. So
yeah,
we'll go through them.
No duds here. No runaway.
First one is Clear Body. Clear Body prevents your stats from being dropped by opposing Pokemon's moves and abilities. So Snarl can't drop your special attack. You can't be intimidated. You can drop your own special attack with things like Draco Meteor. That is a possibility.
Correct. It's only enemy influence, so, Scary Face, stuff like that.
Number 2, we've got the ability Infiltrator. So what Infiltrator does is it helps you get through things like Substitute. You don't do immediate damage through Substitute. You still have to break that. But you can burn with Will-O-Wisp, or you can Thunder Wave something through a Substitute. And you also bypass screens. So that
Which is super huge.
That's a really big one. So you get through the damage barriers of Light Screen and Reflect. And then finally we've got Curse Body. So if someone attacks you, you take damage, you have the possibility of turning off the move that just did damage to you. So really strong when it comes to, like, disable, Curse Body, Substitute, Hex sets. Like, there are there are some super annoying Dragapult sets. So speaking of sets, let's get into some of ours.
Yeah, dude, this first one is near and dear to our hearts here. Let's talk about, I think this is your favorite.
Yeah, this is definitely my go-to. This is my bread and butter. This is the one You saw this a lot in Gen 8, and for good reason. It's a very, very powerful set. You're going to see it again in Gen 9. Let's talk about it. We're running the Infiltrator ability, so we can bypass screens and things like that. We're going to run Timid. This Pokemon, like Justin mentioned, has an incredible speed tier, and we're going to take advantage of that here. We're running max speed, max special attack. We're just throwing that extra 4 into defense because things like Sucker Punch, Play Rough, are things in the meta. Maybe you live on 1, and if you do, it's because you put that 4 in the defense. Shadow Sneak, things like that. Good shout, good shout. We're going to run Choice Specs. I like to run Choice Specs on this. Because we are maximizing.
Like, it's so strong. Yeah. It's so powerful.
We're maximizing the immediate damage output of this Pokemon. It's got a good dual stab combination. However,
great dual stab combination. S tier, in fact. Like, when we did our original podcast, those were in that top bracket. Like, those are the heavy hitters. Those are some of the heaviest hitters in the meta right now, Ghost and Dragon. So, and Draco Meteor. Who doesn't love dropping Dracos? Let's go.
Right. Big damage on a Choice Specs Pokemon. It's stab. But let's talk about the Terra type. So we're Terra Ghost with Spec Shadow Ball and Stab. So that is going to be like the big draw because Golden Go is the most used Pokemon in the format right now. And when I say the format, I mean every format. He's the most used Pokemon in VGC. He's the most used Pokemon in 3v3. And he's the most used Pokemon in OU. So
go figure.
Shadow Ball helps us out against that matchup. They do Terra Steel a lot. However, this is going to give you lots and lots of good damage against it. You got Draco Meteor. You can go Flamethrower for the Golden Go matchup as well. There's also, you know, say you're in a double setting that helps you against things like a Moongus. You know, maybe it's a Sun Boosted Flamethrower. Thunderbolt on the other side of that can help you cover things like Corviknight. It can help you hit things like Pelipper. You can hit things like Palafin if you're playing 3v3 or if you're playing VGC. And then U-Turn. This Pokemon presents a lot of pressure offensively, and with its really high speed, you're gonna force a lot of switches. So you're definitely always safe to hit that U-turn button if you got something in the back that you want to go to.
Yeah, dude, and like this is the way to go. Even if you're gonna be, if you want big damage, which we'll talk about, this is probably one of the best ways to do it. If you just want immediate damage, even in VGC, you could throw people off and run a Specs or Expert Belt or Life Orb. There's a lot of good options. I wouldn't even change Draco Meteor to Dragon Pulse. Like, I'd still just want to drop Dracos. Flamethrower is great. Does he get Heat Wave, I wonder?
No.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So, yeah, and obviously U-Turn could be Protect. In terms of VGC, I guess we could talk about some uses over there. One thing that did get taken away this gen is no more Ally Switch for this Dragapult.
Yeah, that's a big one because it's going to be a little more predictable, right? Like, this Pokemon is very unpredictable. However, you don't have to play that head game with Ally Switch anymore. That move got super, super nerfed. There's like 12 Pokemon in the format.
Yeah, because it's no longer a TM or TR, so it's only who learns it naturally. So, yeah, it was a big deal with this guy back in the day. That was one of his best options. But one of the things that I do like is the fact that he can get Clear Body and Dragon Dance. So you can, and 120 physical attack is great. So he can do physical damage and he's immune to Intimidate. So that's a pretty powerful set. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I've got this set. There's a lot of slashes here, and we'll talk about them. This is kind of the all-comers. This is the really balanced Dragapult that you can use kind of anywhere. You can take this wherever, just kind of adjust the moves how you like.
Yeah, this is good for 3v3 or for VGC, respectively.
So we got Infiltrator and Clear Body. In my opinion, I think you run Infiltrator in singles and you run Clear Body in doubles because of the presence of Intimidate. It is not very present right now because there's no Landorus. I like Adamant on this set because this Pokemon's already so fast. When you Dragon Dance in your Jolly, it's kind of overkill. You can do it. You can do it because then you know, don't. But even if you're Adamant and you get up a Dragon Dance safely, you're still beating almost all of the choice Pokemon in the format. Yeah. So I like using Adamant here to just maximize the damage because, you know, that's what this set is. It's a damage set. Focus Sash, I think this is the best used item in VGC. And
yeah, it's a great option for anybody that wants to use a setup move. You Sash, on the turn you Swords Dance or Dragon Dance or Nasty Plot, etc. You You use the focus sash to make sure you live, and then you sweep from. Lumberry's great on him also because, you know, if he is running physical, if you are running the clear body set, if somebody tries to go around that, like, okay, well, can't intimidate you, well, then I'll try to burn you with Will-O-Wisp. That's pretty common, right, for physical attackers? So having that Lumberry is really good there. There's also quite a few Yawns, Spores, and Thunder Waves, and even a couple Glares in the meta. So
yeah,
I really do like the Lumberry option here, too.
Yeah, Lum helps you win the matchup against Skeledirge because there's a lot of slack off. Will-O-Wisp, Torch Song, Skeledirge. Having a Lumberry helps you win that matchup, take them a little off guard. Dragon Dance, you can run in both formats. If you were a little afraid of the setup moves in VGC, you can run Protect. Totally viable. We got Dragon Dart. Justin, talk about how Dragon Darts works in VGC.
Yeah, so in 3-3, it's just 2 hits, but in VGC, it's special. Instead of 2 hits on the same mon, it'll do 1 hit to each spot. And if somebody protects, it won't just spread it over to 2 to the 1 guy. It'll, you know, hit the protect kind of thing. It's a weird mechanic. But it's shooting those Dreepies out of his head is essentially what Dragon Darts is. But it's physical, it's dragon, it's really strong. I actually really like the utility of Phantom Force because he's so fast, it allows you to dodge things, and this is a big offensive meta with the Terra types. Like, half of the Terra types you see will be, like, just really stockpiling damage. Like, if you are dealing with a, I don't know, something super, like, whether it's in the rain or like that, you don't want to be taking some of these big, giant boosted moves. Kind of like a Dynamax move, and you would just like then, where Fly or Phantom Force, you'd go, you know, underwater, above the air, whatever the case may be. In this case, in the Shadow Realm, and you just dodge the move completely, and they're wasting turns. And you can stall out time with things like, you know, maybe enemy Tailwind, or what else could we stall out, Zero?
Weather turns, Trick Room turns, things like that. And then the fun thing about Phantom Force is it goes through Protect, so there's nowhere to run once you've got a Phantom Force. And there's always that mind game, too, when you're playing doubles, like, here comes the Phantom Force. Where's it going? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the fact that it goes through Protect is actually the really, really clutch, important part, because that makes it really good in 3v3s, actually.
Exactly.
Because, you know, that's normally why, like, Fly or Dig isn't as strong, even though they have good base power.
Yep. And then we've got Terra Blast. You can run Terra Blast with your Ghost or your Steel. Yep. I think Terra
Steel's great.
Yep. I think we're both in the same boat that if you're going to run Terra Blast, do it with Terra Steel because you've got Phantom Force already. Terra Blast.
But Sucker Punch is a great option. I'm a huge fan of Sucker Punch. I think Sucker Punch is one of the best moves in the game right now. I said it since day 0. No pun intended here, buddy, for you. But I've been talking about priority. Right? I've been on this priority train this whole Gen 9 since we've heard about terrestrialization, haven't I?
Yes.
And Sucker Punch is base 80. So Sucker Punch is a very, very strong move in its typing. The only drawback, obviously, is that, you know, well, I guess there's 2 drawbacks. One is that it's not actually a punching move, because in Japan it's called surprise attack, so it's like an ambush. And you got sucker punched, man. You sucker punched me, which is obviously just hitting somebody when they're not looking, so a surprise attack. So, but other than that, obviously, if they're not using an attack move, it just won't go off or just waste a turn. But when you're up against something like a Goldango, Sucker Punch is super strong. So you could even Terra Dark, and we already said we're adamant with a +1 here. We're gonna knock out every Goldango we see, even the bulky sets that try to take heat of his somewhat decent tanky stats. I've been seeing a couple of sets in VGC of Goldango on Trick Room squads.
All right, buddy. Let's move into the last set real quick. This one is a classic. You guys probably all know this one already. This is the Colossal Surf Weakness Policy Partner.
Yeah.
We are running Clear Body, so we cannot be intimidated. You can run Curse Body if you want to get some hacks in your favor. Running max speed, max attack. You could run some HP investment if you wanted, because we're running Light Clay.
Totally. Whatever floats your boat. Like you can run some bulk into him. 88's not bad for HP, so like you're in a decent spot, and we do have decent defensive typing. Ghost isn't bad, but yeah, Light Clay with the screens. This could be a sash set. This could be a lot of different things. I don't hate Curse Body. I don't hate Clear Body. I think they're both great. But yeah, so obviously you're gonna want to go Jolly to make sure that we're not doing as much damage with the surf. You You could even go as far as to find a 0 special attack IV. And you basically just surf and activate the weakness policy as well as the steam engine, and then Colossal starts to pop off. Now, the big difference here in this meta is that A, there's no Dynamax, which means one of two things. You don't have the big HP to take less damage from the ×4 super effective surf.
Yeah.
And you're not bigger, so Colossal's, what has he only got, like 90 special attack? He's not like that strong.
No, yeah.
Will actually hit even harder.
And it doesn't have Volcalith tick damage this game either.
There you go. That's the big one, is you also don't have the tick damage from Volcalith, which, let's be honest, that's what helped pick up a lot of KOs.
Yeah.
So it's nowhere near as powerful, and that's why we're not seeing Dragapult as much. That's why Garchomp's the big man on campus right now, otherwise Dragonite, with that Terra normal extreme speed. But yeah, coming in here with that Will-O-Wisp, because he's a ghost type, is actually a really good utility, and he's faster than the Garchomp, and he can't be extreme speeded, obviously, because he's part ghost. Yep. So he's actually a decent matchup in the meta as an offensive support, if we're talking about VGC.
Yeah, and I like Thunderwave. That's just one of my favorite flavors. I love to slow things down and get some hacks in my favor. The bottom, I've got Light Screen and Reflect. To be perfectly honest, you could take any combination of the last 4 moves, and you'd be fine. Like say, oh, my team...
or Slap Protect.
My team's kind of slow. Okay, well, then you throw Thunderwave on there. Protect as well. Yes, good shout. Yep. You could say, oh, man, my team's really physically bulky. I need some help on the special side. Well, you can run, Will-O-Wisp for tick damage and more insurance, and you can run Light Screen and not necessarily need Reflect. So there's a lot of... This is one of those pieces, I think, that comes really later in the team building process, unless you're going Cole Dragapult. Yep. So, that would be where you start, is with Colossal Dragapult. Then you would build the rest out, and then you would fill in Dragapult's moves after you've built your team. Like, okay, well, I need this and this and this. Dragapult offers so much. He can fill in those roles later.
Well, and because he's so fast, you could even do some other shenanigans. He's a really good, self-procer. It doesn't have to be weakness policy. You could use, instead of Surf, Flamethrower or any fire move, and then be paired next to the new Cinnabon dog, the new Dox Bun. And then
Baxcalibur.
Or Baxcalibur with Thermal Exchange, and you just Flamethrower into your ally slot at base 142 speed. Do you know what I mean? So an offensive support is where I'm glad that you and I were on the same page here. This is, I think, his best niche in VGC is offensive support. You can do good damage, but you're using that speed as your utility.
Right. All right, guys. That's going to do it for Dragapult. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching another guide. Guys, go check out our podcast. We put out another one on early meta threats for VGC and 3v3. There are some Paradox Pokemon in there, but it's good to be prepared for when they do come back to the format. Justin, any closing thoughts on Dragapult?
Yeah, I mean, he's the quintessential example of go fast, hit hard, right? He's pretty squishy, but he does have that unique typing here, being the Ghost Dragon in terms of, non-restricted Pokemon. I really do like his design aesthetically. I like him competitive. Got a good niche. I would like to see maybe 1 or 2 more moves added to him, but yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential. He doesn't quite hit as hard as the other big dragons, and he doesn't have those big priority moves outside of Sucker Punch the way that they do, but I do think that there is still a lot of potential with this guy. I think he's a solid, A tier, A+ tier, pseudo-legendary kind of role filler.
Alright guys, that's going to do it for us. We hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you on the next one. Until then, I've been Zero.
And I'm Justin.
Council's adjourned.